Hey everyone, it's Elo. I hope that you're doing well. If you're interested, today I'm going to chat through some of my old favorite fall memories throughout the course of my life, and hopefully you'll find them entertaining in some way, relaxing, and maybe they'll even help you remember some of your own favorite memories from your childhood and previous years of your life. So we're just gonna get started. I was thinking about this a lot, and I tried to remember everything I possibly could from as early as I could, and that's kind of been difficult. But the first thing that I can really remember that had to do with autumn, that I just look back with so much fondness, is where I grew up in Connecticut. There was I'm not really sure, I think it was like a sort of a farm, but not a full-blown farm. I really don't know because it was such a long time ago, and I was only concerned with the things I was concerned with, at that age. And what I do know is that it was a pretty big sort of compound, and they had a peacock, which I had never seen in person, of course, before, and that was cool. And they had some other animals as well, typical barnyard animals, cows and pigs and chickens. And every autumn around Halloween, they would have this hay bale maze that any of the local children could come and play. And it was so much fun, for whatever reason, to go there. And they had square or rectangular hay bales that they would tie with the twine and then make a maze, and they crafted it to where they had some were on like different levels, so you could kind of crawl through an area and then drop back down to a different area. And it was just fun. You'd meet all kinds of kids that you didn't know and just pretend and enjoy climbing around on the hay bales. There wasn't any real specific game that we ever played that I remember, but it was just exciting to be able to go wherever, explore all of this maze that seemed so big to us because we were so small. And that's probably the first real fall harvest time memory that I can think of. As time progressed, I always still loved this season for obvious reasons. Halloween was so much fun to me. I loved being able to dress up. I was kind of forced to be a cat for many, many Halloweens in a row, but the whole act of trick-or-treating was just fun. It was cool. You never know what you're gonna get, and the parents would always kind of make you feel cool or special for what you were wearing, and so much enthusiasm and excitement. And I've always been a very positive person, so I like being around those feel-good feelings. And it was just nice to have, you ring someone's doorbell and they're like, oh wow, what are you? Oh cool, that's awesome, and give you a bunch of candy. What more can you really ask for? I had a really great neighborhood for trick-or-treating. It was 4 cul-de-sacs, and I know I've described this in a couple other videos, but it was kind of T-shaped, and then there was another road here, so like an uppercase and a lowercase T on top of one another. There's only one way in or out, and everyone was familiar and friendly with everyone. So it was a nice community, and there were only maybe 2 houses that didn't participate in like trick-or-treating. Everyone else had parties and gave out candy, and it was just a lot of fun. And I think maybe 5th grade was the first time that we were allowed to go without parents, and really there were always parents watching us, because if my house was here and then my friend's house was there and my other friend's house was there, and then it's the whole street. Someone from the group lived very nearby, so the moms could kind of communicate if they needed to. There were no cell phones at the time, of course, so they would just call the landline and say so-and-so got hurt or whatever. But it was always a good time, and we were fortunate not to have anything really go wrong. We just had fun. But outside of trick-or-treating, since that's something that pretty much everyone experiences, at least here in the United States, there was one particular fall. I don't remember why, but my friends and I wanted to make some money, and we decided that we were going to be a leaf collection service. We initially thought about mowing lawns, and then we were like, there's not much to mow right now because it's cold. But there were leaves everywhere on the ground, so we thought, okay, we'll go to someone's house and we'll get a bunch of trash bags, and then we'll go door to door asking people if they want us to bag their leaves for a fee. And I think only like 2 people let us bag their leaves, and I don't even think we did that great of a job. But this night was October 30th, and I can't even remember what it's called right now, but the night before Halloween has a lot of superstition revolving around it. There was always this rumor when we were kids that the 30th was the night that these people would go around and like look for and sacrifice black cats. Like we were pretty convinced that someone was going to be roaming around the neighborhood looking for a cat to kill. There were no black cats. There weren't really even any feral cats in that neighborhood, but still it scared us, and we were out there bagging these leaves, and it was actually at my next door neighbor's house, and they were a little bit antisocial, but for whatever reason they said it was okay for us to do this, and they went out to like dinner or something, so we were in their driveway at the end of this cul-de-sac, and it started getting dark really fast, and we weren't really anticipating that because we were having such a good time, and before we knew it, it was pitch black out, and we were still trying to bag these leaves. And I feel like this can still happen even as adults, but as kids, fear kind of rippled through the group. So one person would start off, expressing that they felt uneasy about something or intentionally trying to scare everyone. And then pretty quickly, everyone would become hysterical. And that's exactly what happened. Someone started talking about the cat killers and Bloody Mary, which you can allegedly summon in the mirror on one of these spooky nights, you can go into the bathroom with the lights completely off and say Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary 3 times to the mirror, and she would appear in the mirror. So we were terrified, we were thinking about all of this, and it was just so scary, and the wind started picking up and was like whipping everything around. And if I remember right, we didn't tie the bags yet. And there was a really strong gust of wind, and it blew the leaves everywhere. And we were so terrified that we just ran off screaming. Like, we left all of our crap. We left the bags. We left the leaves strewn everywhere. We never went back and picked them up. And we kept the, like, I want to say it was only like $5 or something. So that was pretty wrong. But we were just terrified, and everyone ran home to their respective houses, and we didn't hang out again until the next day. So that was kind of funny looking back. I had a little bit of feel bad for the family that we accidentally bamboozled, but it was for good reason. We really legitimately were terrified. So that was pretty fun. Moving forward, there wasn't really a whole lot in school that I can remember until the 8th grade, but before that happened, I want to say it was the 6th grade, but it could have been the 7th, I had these 2 female friends that I was pretty close with. The 3 of us were pretty close, and we 3 were going to go trick-or-treating together. And this was one of the first times that I wasn't going in my neighborhood. So that was kind of weird, but I was excited to be with my friends. And one of my friends went as Michael Jackson in whiteface, actually. And my other friend went, I really don't remember what she was. And I was like Avril Lavigne or something. I had like a whole punk rock outfit. And this is one of those things that I think back on and I'm like, what were we doing? Like, what was the point of this? Why did we do this? We had finished trick-or-treating and we were pretty much lost in whatever neighborhood we were in. And coming down this road, no one was around, and cars came every once in a while, and for some reason we were like offering to spit shine these people's cars. Not even really for money, we were just being stupid. So we were like literally flagging cars down and like pretending that we were gonna clean them. Mind you, we're like 12 years old at this point, so that doesn't really seem like something sensible. And I really wonder if we were all like on a sugar rush or something, because it was not funny, but we were laughing hysterically. We thought it was hilarious until someone told us they were going to call the cops on us, and then we ran scared back to one of the girls' houses. So that's just like a weird intermittent memory that I'm still confused as to what happened. It was very out of character, I guess, for us to do something like that. The 3 of us were pretty shy, even though we were pretty rambunctious when we were together, but not like that. So that was just a weird memory that I have stuck in there. There were also a few Halloween stores that I can remember going to. There was one that was in New Haven, Connecticut, and I forget what it was called, but it was pretty well known. Like, I think across the country. This is like a special oddities shop, and it was huge, like 2 stories. There were costumes, there were all kinds of like actual creepy stuff, like things fermenting in jars and skeleton heads and all this. And if I remember right, the second floor was like parental discretion advised. I don't think I ever went up there. I think the first floor was mainly like the Halloween party type stuff, and the second floor was more like someone interested in bones and things like that. So that was interesting. And that was R.I.P. Me, the place where I found my I Dream of Jeannie costume that I really, really, really wanted to wear. I loved that show, and I used to like, go around doing the whole thing. And I just thought that she was so pretty and feminine and thin and just all of the things that I wasn't. She had beautiful hair that was always perfectly in place, and this glamorous little genie bottle that she could go into. And it was just just one of those things that as a little girl I was like, oh wow, Jeannie's so cool. And I wanted desperately to wear her outfit for Halloween. And I still tell myself to this day that if I ever become what I think is thin enough to wear that belly bearing outfit, I will. And my parents, though, were like vetoed the whole thing. They didn't want me exposing my midriff or whatever, even though I was a kid. And then they told me that I could wear it, but I would have to wear a turtleneck underneath. I was like, never mind. I'm not gonna sully Jeannie's outfit like that. So I never ended up doing it. My only real costumes that I can remember were, of course, the cat. Which, by the way, this was like a black zip-up bodysuit that like went all the way around my whole body and had a tail, and the only thing that was like exposed really was my face. So that was interesting. I was a Native American one year, which I've talked about. Not sure that was the greatest thing in retrospect, but it was very common at the time. I was a witch, of course, at one point. I was Avril Lavigne, and then I was Gothic Raggedy Ann. That was my freshman year of high school. We went trick-or-treating in my neighborhood, and my friend Lauren's, because they were kind of connected. And there were like 16 of us from our friend group who all went together, so that was pretty fun. Actually, though, before that, in the 8th grade is the next school thing I mentioned that I remember. And as I've talked about, my school that I went to in the 8th grade was a private school. It was a Catholic school that was, uniforms and everything, and it was very small and very underfunded. We didn't have a cafeteria or a gymnasium or anything. There were no amenities. It was just one building with one hallway, one classroom per grade, and about 20 to 25 kids per class. So it was very small, and everyone from the kindergartners through the 8th graders were all in the same hallway. So me and 2 of my friends somehow got got lucky enough to be like the class people. We like did everything for the class. We did sorting the bottles and cans, which we used to turn those in for money for the school. We did anything that needed to be done for the class, and one of those things was decorating the door. So when it came around to Halloween time, each grade would decorate their door, and there was a contest for whose door was the best, and I think it was like a pizza party or something like that. Typical reward. And I can't remember if we won and the 7th graders were upset that we won because they thought their door was better, or if it was the other way around, that the 7th graders won and we were upset. So it really didn't matter in the end, but the process of skipping class and goofing around right outside, decorating the store, was really fun and definitely a memory that I enjoy thinking about. And one of the girls who was a part of that trio, I guess, was one of my neighbors. So we already had like a strong bond by the time I transferred to the school that she went to. So that was just fun. Like, we were very comfortable around each other, and our third friend just kind of really fit in really well with us as a group. So that was a lot of fun. And I'm trying to think what I was for Halloween that year, but I really don't remember. Yeah, I have no idea. But I do remember the next year being Gothic Raggedy Ann, which was interesting because every other girl that was in the group was like a fairy or something, and I, in the pictures looking back, I stuck out like a sore thumb. But whatever, I had fun. Sorry, my camera's autofocus really hates me for some reason. But I don't think I ever trick-or-treated with an actual, like, meant for Halloween bucket or basket or anything. We used pillowcases, and that was our loot bag, and it worked really well. I'd be interested to know if you guys did the same, or if you had like a specific treat bag or something. So after that year, I think I did go trick-or-treating. Well, I know I did. When we moved. So this would have been my 10th grade year for sure, because we moved after Christmas of my freshman year. So that was my last Halloween where I grew up, was the one where I was Raggedy Ann. And then the next year, I took my little brother trick-or-treating. When we first moved, my 2 younger brothers went to a public school, and they were, for whatever reason, bullied really badly there, and they hated it, and it made them feel awful. The kids were just mean, and I experienced the same thing at the private high school that I was at the time. So I get it, but I felt bad for them, and like, they really didn't make any friends that first year until they transferred to a different school, where they ended up making a lot of friends and doing really well. But that first year was really bad and sad, and I hated seeing them get bullied and hearing their stories and seeing them cry. It was just heartbreaking for me. So I decided I was going to take my brother, right younger than me, trick-or-treating. The youngest one was still too little. So we got dropped off in a neighborhood and we went as our World of Warcraft characters. So I was my rogue at the time. Her name was Jada Blue, with 2 O's, and she had short blue hair, so I got a little wig. And I don't really remember what I did for the armor. I know that my older brother drew my younger brother's like tabard, his guild tabard, and he wore that and some like fake chainmail stuff. He was a paladin named Harry Man, but it was Harry, because I think he thought that's how Harry was spelled at the time that he made his character. And he ended up being like an amazing healer. He was a paladin first, and then he was a druid named Happy Fun Ball. And he ended up being like, I forget, he was within like the top 5 of our server, and our server was one of the best of all of the servers. So he was like top 10% of like the world when it came to resto druids, which was really cool. But yeah, he was his paladin, Holy Pally, Happy Fun Ball, and I was my rogue, Jada Blue, and we went from door to door, of course, trick-or-treating, and no one had any clue what we were when we told them. We were like, oh, we're our World of Warcraft characters. And they were just like, what? They had no idea what World of Warcraft was. We tried to explain to them, like, he's a paladin and I'm a rogue, and no one got it. And it was even worse that, like, we were in some random neighborhood because we didn't have a neighborhood. We just lived on a back street that was, like, super long, and our next door neighbors were like a half of a mile away. There was no one around. It was very remote. So obviously we couldn't go trick-or-treating there. So our mom just took us to like a random bougie neighborhood. And all of the parents had no idea who we were. So we were just 2 weirdos walking around like LARPing, role-playing our characters. And it was, we made fun with it, but it was definitely kind of awkward, I guess, or uncomfortable. Yeah, so that was interesting. The next thing I remember, I guess, was Matt used to have yearly Halloween parties at his house, which were a lot of fun. And I went as Goldilocks. I don't know why. It was just a costume that they had, and for some reason I already had these massive white heels. Like, they were like platform heels, and they were in that white, like, I don't know what the material is called, but it's very shiny. I've seen like people have bodysuits made out of it. It's not leather or something, but I don't know. I had these hooker heels, and they worked well with the costume, and it came with like a blonde wig with curls. So I was Goldilocks, and just went to his house and we chilled, and that was fun. Actually, that was my senior year of high school. My junior year of high school, I went with Jasmine and Kayla with a C, and I don't even think we dressed up. I don't think we dressed up at all. I just remember we were driving in my car, and we would stop and park at random houses in Jasmine's neighborhood which was also a little bit spaced out. So I don't know if they do this anywhere else, but in the South, most people have like a trailer of some sort. So a lot of families would take their truck or their Suburban and hook a flatbed trailer up to it, and the kids would all sit in the flatbed, and then the parents would just drive from one house to the next, and all the kids would get out and then back on. So that was interesting, I guess. I always thought it was funny, but it makes sense why they do that. Sorry, I'm having really bad luck with the sirens right now. So Jasmine and Kayla and I got some candy, and we went back to Jasmine's house, and I remember when we were driving, we were listening to Showstopper by Danity Kane, and I can't remember if it was in that song or if it was a different song, but there was a verse by E40 that was like, "Hoes know me, I'm E40. They recognize pimpin' when I step through the door." And we used to sing the shit out of that whole verse. It was just, he has a really fun and like funny flow, I guess. And we were just jamming out to that. And then I'm pretty sure that we like stole some political signs on the way home, because we definitely did stuff like that a lot for whatever reason. Rebels against society or whatever. And I think that was really all that happened that night. We just played Super Mario the rest of the night, and that was it. There was also a year in high school when I took that same brother who we went as our World of Warcraft characters. We went to a haunted farm thing, and I had never been to like a haunted house before at all, and there were different parts to it, and actually someone in his class, their family were the ones that run this whole thing. So they let us in for free, and it was huge. This wasn't just like a backyard operation. I think it was called like Pope's Haunted Farm or something like that, and it was massive. You had to ride on a tractor just to get from where you parked your car to where this thing started. And then there was like a scare thing where you'd ride through on a tractor sitting on hay bales, and different people would pop out of the woods and stuff and like come up to you with chainsaws and scream. I remember this girl like fell onto my brother and was like grabbing him like, "I'm scared." And I got so annoyed because he was still, in my mind, like pretty young, and this girl was not as young, and I was just like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, don't touch my brother." I got really upset, but it was fine. Then we went through the walking through the woods part, and we got separated from our group somehow. They were ahead of us, so we were coming through together alone without our like tour guide, and the characters who were in the woods were resetting to their positions to wait for the next group. But we were like an anomaly because we weren't with our group. So we scared the shit out of like 7 employees. They weren't expecting us, and then we would just round the corner and they'd be like, like screaming. So that was a lot of fun because instead of being scared, we scared a bunch of people. It was really funny, and I think that's really all we did there. I also have this random vague memory of being outside someplace, waiting in line to go into I don't know what. Maybe it was a haunted house, but I don't remember being inside of it. And I just remember that like Monster Mash was playing, and I forget what song it is, but there's a song that starts off exactly like Werewolves of London, but it's a Halloween song. Or is that the Halloween song? I don't remember, but I remember just hearing those intro chords, and I just like looked up at my dad like, are they really playing this song? Why are they playing this song? And then it was a completely different song than I thought it was. And that's really all I remember from that place. I can remember what the line looked like, and the fact that in front of this house or whatever, there were two big cement columns that had like lanterns on top and gargoyles or something. Did anyone used to watch that show? I loved gargoyles. But I don't really remember anything else about it. And it's kind of interesting to me that you can remember pieces of memories, but not the most important. Like the biggest part of the memory would have been whatever we did when we went inside. But I don't remember us going inside. Maybe we left. Maybe the line was just too much for my parents to handle and we went home. I don't remember. So those are really the only two like haunted house experiences that I remember, have any recollection of whatsoever. And then the year after I graduated, I did go trick-or-treating even though I was 17. Because my friends and I were just being stupid. And I had a friend, she went by Darkness, and she went as a high school graduate because she never graduated. So she had her like cap and gown, and that irritated so many of the parents when we told them, or when she told them. They're like, I'm a graduate. Hey, they were just like, okay, y'all need to stop doing this. Don't be here. We were like tainting their children or something. And that year I was like Alice in Wonderland, but like the slutty version that they sell in the stores. I didn't intentionally try to make it slutty, but the costume was just kind of, you know, it was a Party City costume, so that was interesting. I'm trying to think. I think that was the last time. That was certainly the last time I went trick-or-treating, but I think that was the last time I even did anything for Halloween at all. Because the next place that I moved to was my apartment that I moved to this city from, and no kids lived there, so there were no trick-or-treaters. Yeah, and then had a few trick-or-treaters last year and the year before at the house I lived at with Rich, but not a whole lot. Maybe 6 kids each night, which was sad because I bought a lot of candy, like thinking that kids were going to come through, but our neighborhood just didn't have that many children. It was mainly like older ladies and younger couples like we were. So Halloween has kind of died down as like a favorite thing, but I still do really love like corn mazes. I think those are so much fun. I did go to one up in Connecticut before I moved. I think this was the 6th grade. Me and a bunch of my girlfriends met up and went, and it was a huge corn maze. They had like a map, and you had to make it to each corner of whatever the shape was, and they had a hole punch that was in a different shape, so like a star or a circle or a square or whatever, and you had to get all 6 or 8 whatever hole punches in your card before you tried to find the exit. And it took so long that we didn't even finish. I don't think we just left eventually. And then there was a like little gift shop out front, and they had warm apple cider and apple cider donuts, which, if you've never had an apple cider donut, you need to try one. They're essentially a plain donut, but then they're covered with like different types of sugar, I think. Maybe they're more like a, I don't want to use this word because I don't know if I'm right, but cruller, is that the one that's kind of like ribbed for your eating pleasure? They're really good in general, so that is a very good memory as well. And then when I lived in Virginia, Eric and I went to a corn maze as well, and that was really fun actually. It was kind of one of those bittersweet things because he never did anything with me, and that was like one of the reasons why we broke up, and one of the only things that bothered me about our relationship was that he always just wanted to stay home and play video games and never wanted to actually like do anything. So it was nice to finally do something, but it also just had this like feeling to it, like, okay, is he even having a good time? Because I might have like just forced him to come, and what if he didn't want to really come? And I don't know. I think he had a good time though. I certainly did, aside from that little doubt and sad feeling that like, man, we could have a lot of fun if we did more shit like this, but we never do. There was a huge corn maze there, which was cool because they also had some like wooden footbridges in their corn maze, so you would get elevated and you could see like the whole thing. And there were monarch butterflies around, because I just learned this from someone who I became friends with through ASMR, that monarch butterflies migrate as it gets colder, so I guess it must have been about that time. And they also had amazing funnel cake, which was so good. And there were goats, a lot of goats, and we watched a pig race, which was fun. And then he did like a sack slide thing, like where you sit on a burlap bag and go down a slide. And then at the end there was like a huge pumpkin patch where you could pick out a pumpkin. I don't know. I think we did actually. Yeah, we did, because that was the first year I ever roasted my own pumpkin seeds. I was really big into Pinterest, which I still advocate. But I found a fall recipe for different types of pumpkin seeds that you put different seasonings on, and then you roast them in the oven. And there was one in particular, I can't remember if it's allspice or something, but they're so good, and that I really, really liked that whole experience of like roasting the sunflower seeds and eating them. And I carved a pumpkin that had like 2 candy corns on it, and I did a second one actually that had like a candelabra, and those were the best pumpkins I ever carved as well, so that was pretty cool. Last year I just ate a bunch of candy corn and got really sick. That was about it. The previous year, Rich and I had watched, was it Van Helsing? Or, I don't know, it was a vampire movie. I think the lead was Wolverine. Hugh Jackman, is that his name? It was interesting. It was really interesting. Yeah, but that was kind of a bad year. We got into a really bad fight that night. So yeah, Halloween has taken a bit of a nosedive for me, but I still have all my decorations, and I'm debating whether or not I want to put them up this year, because I'm just by myself and I don't have anyone to celebrate with, so it might feel sad for me to decorate just for myself. I don't know. So I'm still deciding. Obviously, I've taken a lot of the things that I have out of the box, and I'm just kind of looking at them and like, okay, where would I even put this stuff? So we'll see. Maybe if I do set anything up, I will post pictures on Instagram or something. Yeah, I think I had one more memory, and I'm trying to think of what it might have been. I guess the only other like fall thing that I really enjoy doing is making homemade pretzels. I started doing that one year in Virginia, and it's a lot of fun and they taste really good. I love soft pretzels. I'm not as big of a fan of hard pretzels, but soft pretzels any day. So I made my own honey mustard too, and that's kind of just become something that I do. I do remember the other memory, but it's only like a half of a memory. So around Halloween time, my mom and I went to the Christmas tree shop up in Connecticut, which if you don't know what the Christmas tree shop is, it might go by a different name where you live. I think it's also called like And That or And This or something. It's not a shop that sells Christmas trees. It's a shop that sells a lot of stuff. It's kind of like a Home Goods or a TJ Maxx or something, but bigger and just different. They do have like Christmas themed stuff, but they also have like clothing and toiletries, and it's a weird mix. And then they have like specialty foods as well, like snacks. I don't know, but I remember we went there, and then on the way home we stopped at this, I don't know what to call it. It was just kind of like a greenhouse pumpkin stand. I don't know. It was up on a hill, and there were greenhouses that had all kinds of plants in them, and then out front there was a long skinny pumpkin patch and some Halloween decorations kind of just like mixed in, things that you could buy. And I just remember walking around there, and I think the reason why that day sticks out to me is because of the weather. It was like that really gray. This doesn't really happen the same in the south because it's warmer here, but in the north, when it starts becoming the cold season, you'll have these days that are just like something out of a book, in my opinion. The sky is very gray and the air is cold, and the leaves are almost completely off the trees, so everything looks like a drawing. Like all of the trees are becoming barren, but the ground is still very colorful, and it's just like a really idyllic scenery to me. Even though it might sound a little like sad and cold, it's very beautiful, I think. And I felt that way even then, and I think I was like not even a teenager yet when that happened. So that's always been something I like, an aesthetic, I guess, of the real world that I like. So yeah, the only other things I can remember about fall are sometimes when we were children, my neighborhood friends and I, the girls, only the girls, would pretend that we were like witches and conjure things, and we would get like sticks and mud and then a frog and God knows what else, and like we'd set the frog wherever we were and mix like the mud and sticks and leaves and pretend that we were making something or crafting a potion or whatever, and that was fun. And when the wind would pick up, which there were a lot of windy days during fall in the north, not as many down here, we would pretend that we could control like the elements, control the wind, and that we were in tune with like Mother Nature and all this stuff. And it's just fun to look back on those memories that might seem silly, but I also think that there's kind of an innate part of us, which is why those things happen and why they are shared experiences by people who don't even know each other. I think that people can be much more in tune with the world than we give credit for, because we've gotten so far away from that. But I think as kids we sort of know that, and these things just happen organically. So yeah, so those are pretty much all of my Halloween, autumn, fall memories that I can think of, and hopefully you remembered a thing or two of your own, and I hope that everyone does have a good fall and is enjoying the weather, and getting to sip on something warm or wear your favorite hoodie. Those are great feelings, I think, of comfort and sort of hibernation and just a coziness that you can't really get in the summer. So it's fun, it's nice, and if you do have the opportunity to decorate, I always say go for it, because I do think that it's good, even if you live alone. I'm sad, so that's why I'm not sure that I want to, but even when I lived alone in the past and I wasn't going through heartbreak, I would still decorate for myself, because like it's fun, it's fun, and it helps move life along in a more positive way. So anyway, that is all I have for this video, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one.